Alright everyone, we're going to be doing another analysis today. Once again, my name is Draskyl. Going to bring you some educational commentary. This time it's going to be from a replay from the TI-8 Grand Finals, LGD versus OG. This is a continuation of the series that we started yesterday. We're going to be talking about why we're moving around, why we're doing the things that we're doing, what objectives we want to accomplish. But this time, instead of being from a mid, it's going to be from a position 4 or 5. In this case, we're going to be watching xNova. He is the 5 player for PSG.LGD. And we're just going to go ahead and kick things off right away. Alrighty, now we are watching this from player perspective, so we're going to basically see every single thing that he sees. And we're going to try to figure out why he's making the moves that he's making. I should probably see if I can... Can I do this like this? Does it work? If we can get rid of the in-game chat wheel spam, that would be kind of nice. If we can't, oh well, but otherwise, we're just going to keep watching anyway. So, important things to note, his starting items. We're not going to delve too much into the itemization of the game, but you should, in general, always be starting with a sentry, especially if you're walking to the safe lane, regardless of whether or not there is an invis hero on the enemy team. And the reason you want this is because typically, it's a 2-1-2 meta, which means there's 2 heroes top, 1 mid, 2 bottom. You want a sentry to be able to either A, unblock your camp if the enemy team decides to block it, or just kind of restrict their vision. And vision is one of the most important aspects of Dota in general. So being able to take that away not only makes the enemy team scared, but it frees up you to make other movements. So he's running towards top. He wants to contest the early bounty rune. They're also at this stage trying to figure out what the ideal lane setup will be. And Bane is a very strong level 1 hero. He has really good stats for base armor, 61 damage with no stat items. So this guy is very, very strong. This is going to be a little bit unorthodox. I believe this game there was a try versus try situation. And the main reason that LGD want to do this is because they know that there's an IO and a Disruptor. These 2 heroes are not very notable for being strong in lane, but they are supporting a Gyrocopter who is a fairly strong laning hero. So LGD's choice here is to aggro try. They want to try to keep the Gyro from getting as much experience as possible, and by aggro try laning, they also pretty much force OG to keep both of their supports here. If one of them leaves, a Nightmare into a Fissure could pretty much just be a straight up kill. So xNova's just going to go up, just throwing out some auto attacks. He's trying to get as much damage in as he can. He's taking a little bit of creep hits, but not a big deal as he does have Brain Sap and a lot of extra regen. It's good to get into the habit of buying a lot of regen on heroes that want to trade. And what I mean by that is, the IO and the Disruptor do not have a tremendous amount of base damage on either of them, and you also have an armor and health advantage. So whenever you can hit them and they hit you, that's what we call a trade. And every trade that you make, since you have better stats, is typically going to be favoring your hero. Now by bringing the additional regen, you're making it so that your trades are even more effective if the enemy support doesn't actually have any regen of their own, or maybe they just don't have enough. So they get the first blood there. xNova trades his life. Now his core gets a first blood on the enemy core and he ends up dying. In my book, that is more than an adequate trade. And if I can keep doing that as a position 5, I'm more than happy. And just for those of you who are maybe really new to the game and don't know what a 5 means, 5 refers to the farm priority. 5 being the lowest, 1 being the highest. So a 5 essentially does not get any farm priority whatsoever. Oftentimes he's considered to be the sacrificial lamb of the team. He does a lot of stuff that no one else wants to, like buys wards, help establish vision. Do not confuse being a sacrificial lamb with your role not being useful. A well-played 5 can be one of the most impactful roles in the game, hands down. And at the highest level, a well-played 5 can be the difference between winning and losing. So don't think that just because you don't have items means you're not going to have an impact. And that's why we're watching the game that we're watching today. Now we're still kind of sitting around. There's not too much for us to do currently because, again, this is a tri-lane versus tri-lane situation. The one thing that we have to keep in mind is we have 3 heroes top. If we rotate 1 to go for the not the bounty rune, the regular rune right now at 2 and 4 minutes, it opens up an opportunity for OG to potentially kill someone. So we're feeling a little bit like we're kind of not necessarily stuck here, but we don't necessarily want to leave either. Nice fissure coming in from FY. We're just going to go ahead and auto-attack as much as we can. Looks like we'll end up trading a 1-for-1. And we did not have to expend our brain sap for that. I guess we used it early, so the cooldown did not actually come back up. But this is a pretty straightforward early game. The main premise of this tri lane is just to make sure that, you know, we have all of the supports accounted for. No one's going to be rotating on mid. No one's going to be rotating on bottom. Everyone's just trying to stay top to make sure their cores get some kills. We're going to try to fast forward just a little bit because I want to see his actual movements. The first thing we're going to look at is the 5-minute mark. Now, the 5-minute mark is when the bounty runes spawn. You can see right now he's walking over here trying to interrupt the pull with his 4-player FY. As soon as a pull goes off, you want to be over here to make sure that you're leeching the experience from the neutral creeps as they die, and also preventing the support player from getting denies on them, because denies in this patch are very, very impactful. You lose a huge chunk of the XP from that. Alright, so it's 4 minutes, about 30 seconds in right now. And the one thing that we're looking for is we're waiting to see what kind of movement our heroes make towards the bounty runes. In this patch, bounty runes give a huge amount of gold to pretty much everyone on your team, and is one of the largest deciding factors in how to establish a lead or maintain a lead. So securing bounty runes is one of the best things that you can do as a 5 or a 4, basically any role. But the main reason why 4 and 5s want to do it is because they're the ones who don't want to sit in lane and necessarily hit creeps a lot. They're the ones trying to establish vision. They're the ones trying to make sure that their cores have a good time. That's the main goal of a position 4 or a position 5. So most of the things that you do in a game, your decision should be predicated around, is my core having a good time? If he's not, is there somewhere else that I can go on the map where I will be able to help? And a lot of this does go hand in hand with game experience, but if you at least ask the question and look around on the map, I think you'll have a lot easier of a time making those choices. Now, the other thing you'll notice, you know, it's almost 5 minutes in, we just bought our first ward. The main reason why we're not warding so much in this game in the early stages is, again, all the supports from OG are accounted for. Jerax and No-Tail are both top this whole time, because if either of them leave, their gyrocopter is just not going to be getting farm, right? Now, this does have some influence on other lanes, but we're not going to delve too much into it. Just the basic idea is I don't need vision because I already know where every single person is. Now, I'm going to buy a ward anyway because eventually the lanes will break down. And when that happens, I want to make sure that I have a way of getting vision to keep my cores safe. And that's going to be the main focus in the early game. So we're going to fast forward again. Looks like we're going for a kill here. FY gets a really nice enchant on the courier, gets that kill too. Now this Fissure doesn't really block Ana completely, and it looks like we end up overcommitting here a little bit. Now it was a mistake to walk in like that, just because the Gyrocopter Rocket Barrage does so much damage when there's only one target, as it does split its damage the more people that are around the Gyrocopter. But you know what, it happens. A little bit of a mistake. Looks like our team is chasing a bit far as well. We call this an overcommitment. We're going to lose a handful of heroes, but hey, I respawned. I got a really low respawn timer. We're going to try to get a kill on the core player. If I get this kill, even if I die, I think it's worth it. And it looks like we're not going to get it, so we basically just... We die, we TP back to lane because we look for an opportunity for a core kill, we don't get it, we die again. So that was probably one of the worst situations that could happen because now my TP's down. But let's see how he reacts. The thing that I'm interested in is, once someone makes a mistake, what is their counter, like their counterplay to that mistake? What am I going to do to make up for the fact that I just basically died 2 times in a row and now do not have a TP? So he looks top. He realizes that he can't TP for his PL player, but what does he do anyway? He makes sure that he gets a ward down. Now that ward that he just placed covers the top rune, and covering the top rune, let's check if our mid player has a bottle. He does. So because he has a bottle, I have given him the ability to immediately distinguish where the rune is. So now he's going to be able to make more use of that bottle.
Oh man, this guy's dominating.
So my movement towards the mid lane and my placing a ward in that time, we lost our PL player. But if you look at the CS right now, it's not really too big of a deal because my Enchantress and my Kunkka are both doing exceptionally well. Even if I'm having a struggle in this lane, and it's not something that I'm necessarily having a good time with. My other lanes are still doing okay. So we get a Nightmare off onto the Disruptor. We do end up dying here. It looks like OG are going to be able to at least get a couple of TPs out. They will end up losing both support heroes for that. So again, they dive a very tanky hero. I get a Brain Sap off. I get a Nightmare off. I essentially use all of my spells. And then I die, but we end up getting 2 kills in the process. So remember, as a 5 position, a lot of the stuff that you're going to be doing, you might not live through it. The important part is that you understand that what you are giving, like, you're giving your life for it, but you're getting more in return, hopefully. That's the goal. A good 5 player understands that him dying is not the end of the game. He could die, you know, 10 more times, and as long as he's getting good trades, or he's getting a core hero kill when he dies, or 2 supports die when he dies, that's more than okay. I really like this movement. You'll notice that he respawns, he walks past where he's already placed a ward. He ensures that pretty much no one's going to see him place this, particularly because the 2 heroes that died on OG, I believe both of them had used their teleport scrolls anyway. So the chances that they're going to be able to come back here and be able to spot me placing this ward are very, very low. Now, a general rule of thumb when you're warding is, if you can have both a sentry and an observer, it's ideal because you can place a sentry first, establish if they have vision in the area. If they don't, then you can just place an observer ward somewhere outside of that sentry range, but kind of still in the same vicinity. And the reason you don't want to stack him is because if one guy comes out and he drops a sentry where you just put 2 wards, he gets the 2 for 1. You never want that to happen. So xNova, really nice movement so far. He's had a couple of deaths, but it's not a huge deal. Game is still in our favor. Our solo lanes are doing extremely well. Our game has kind of gotten to a point where now we're thinking about getting that vision established. And the main thing about this vision too is that you can see that my Enchantress is already rotated. So let's look at some of the main points of interest that you want to scout. So where's a place you can TP to quickly react to a gank? Well, you can TP to the Shrine, you can TP to the Tier 2 tower, and you can TP to this tower. By placing this ward and it not being dewarded, it means that if someone does TP here, or if there's like a group up and maybe they try to smoke or something, there's a chance that you could potentially see it. So now we have that vision too.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Another very, very nicely placed ward. I want to rewind just to show you guys how he places it. This is really, really important, okay? He sees that a hero is being dove top, right? Thompson, he just gets killed. He sees a hero show bottom for a second or 2. And now he walks completely into fog to where you would... This little vision right here is basically where you would have to be standing in order to see him. So even if there was someone standing, let's say, you know, to the right or a little bit further down, like maybe by the Tier 2 tower, there is no way they're going to see him place this ward. Again, very important. You do not want people to see you when you are placing a ward. You don't even want creeps to see you making your way towards that area on the map, because at higher levels of play, people will start to kind of deduce, okay, he was over here, he had a ward in his inventory, and now it's gone. There's a good chance that he did place something there. But the creeps didn't see him. The hero that was going up there died. And he places that ward. Chances of it being dewarded, minimal. So we see a dive going on in the bottom lane. We immediately react. We're looking to try to make something happen here. But you know what? We don't have boots. So our TP didn't necessarily result in a kill, but it did save our Earthshaker player. If we don't TP there, the Earthshaker almost assuredly dies. And once again, he's the 4-roll, so he does have farm priority over us. Our movement ensures that he stays alive, he's able to be out on the map, and now we're just looking to go somewhere else. You'll notice that xNova doesn't really linger in one spot for too long. He's even going to pop a solo smoke just to be able to ward this. Oh, I forgot to turn off my notifications. That is unfortunate. I will turn them off in just a second. Actually, let's just do that right now so I don't forget. This is what happens when you don't make videos very often. Let's go to this, and we'll just do that. Okay, cool. So now they're not gonna pop up anymore. Alright, so he pops the smoke. And again, you'll notice that he smoked on the other side of the river. So the chances of OG seeing this smoke, very, very small. I like the fact that he did this solo as well because he already knows that his two core heroes already have a lead, his Enchantress and his Kunkka. So he's probably thinking that all I want to do is make sure that I can get the best vision possible. And I don't need the smoke to take a 5 versus 5 fight right now. I can pop the smoke just because we're that far ahead. So he bypasses OG's ward that was in the bottom rune spot. He's actually standing like it's right below where his character is right now. And he places that deep ward that's also at a shrine. Now these are very, very common TP spots. Right now, LGD have vision of the lane. They can see the gyrocopter in the top lane. They have vision of the shrine and the top side of the jungle and the shrine and the bottom side of the jungle. They're going to see almost every single movement that happens well before anyone on the side of OG are going to be able to threaten for a kill. This is some very, very... He's even going to go between the tier 1 and the tier 2 and place vision in that spot as well. And that smoke just broke. And even if they find him here, there's actually no guarantee that they're going to be able to make anything from it. Now, he didn't know that there was a ward there, so he's probably just going to end up going down here, maybe not. Very nice Nightmare juke on the EMP. And it looks like we're just going to be able to walk away from that one scot-free. So, again, extremely good vision. His movement has been more or less immaculate. He has not been spotted placing a single ward this entire time. Now, it does look easy when he does it, but keep in mind he has a very good understanding of how the other players on OG are going to be moving around, and understanding what their goals are also helps you understand how they're going to move. So what OG essentially wants to do is they want their gyrocopter and their invoker to both get farmed. Obviously, that's not really happening right now because their invoker currently has 25 CS. So he's struggling, right? He's running around trying to either find some action or find some farm. But the supports are more or less just going to be standing with the other core hero because that's the only way they're going to get kills. So whenever he sees someone showing on the map that's a core hero, he has a good idea that there's probably more in the vicinity, and that allows him to move around the map freely and be able to ward based on that fact. If people are playing clumped together, it's really easy for fives to be able to just establish some very, very good vision. Now, we're level 5 right now. Our team is doing exceptionally well. We're going to sit mid, and we're going to go ahead and just get 6. It's the next big step in our hero progression. We're going to get Fiend's Grip, and that Fiend's Grip is going to help us in fights. We have done more than enough in the early game. We've helped secure some trades. We got 4 wards down right now. Every single one of them is still up. Not a single D ward. It's almost 12 minutes in, and we still have that much vision. That is huge. We're just going to be scoping out the bottom lane fight, seeing if there's any way we can possibly contribute. We are going to make our way over here, but it seems like the team is overextended. The second he realizes that him going over there is not going to make a difference, he just goes back to hitting creeps in the mid lane. You can see him, he was like inching that way going, okay, maybe you guys can live long enough, maybe not. They're going to get an echo off onto Ana and get that kill. Now the fight continues on. So he is now in the vicinity, and again, he's walking in a way where there is no possible way for OG to see him. Now, placing those wards like that, he actually placed them in the reverse order. You should typically place the sentry first. But again, he's establishing vision where his team is. Gets a brain sap off there. Oh yeah, this is the... He had a Vanguard there, so he's not going to be able to live through it. So he gets one more tower hit on him, and he ends up going down. But again, before he died, he got a kill on a position 3 hero. He got the ward down. OG didn't see him place it. And now LGD are going to want to play in this part of the map for the foreseeable future, just because their vision is so well established here. The ward by the top shrine should be fading relatively soon. And we're just looking around the map to see where our next potential movement is. We're going to go ahead and TP because we see the Invoker chasing our Phantom Lancer. He ends up being just fine. Now that time he did it in the correct order. He placed a sentry first, and then he placed the obs because he wanted to make sure that OG did not have vision of the high ground. If they had vision of the high ground, like a lane ward, for example, that fight could have turned out to be pretty ugly. They would have had a perfect idea of where everyone in LGD was standing, and there was an opportunity for them to be turned on. So a good 5 always knows that before a potential fight kicks off, if that fight's going to have a big influence in the game, he decides that he wants to put his vision down first. Because winning those engagements is a very, very big deal. Now, I believe they did just smoke under a ward. We'll see if it ends up working out for them. But they're going to smoke and immediately walk mid. They see the Invoker, core hero, very high priority kill. And we still have that Fiend's Grip. Very nice movement. He walks to the high ground on the right side. And because OG don't have a ward on the top rune spot, apparently they didn't scout the smoke either. Thompson ends up getting caught out. So far, everything is going very, very well for us in this game. Playing a 5 in a game where you're winning can feel a lot more rewarding than when you're losing. Just don't forget what your primary purpose is. You notice that even though his team has a 5k advantage, his individual net worth is still pretty much the lowest, or almost the lowest in the game. Now, we don't have a TP at the moment, but we are going to be walking down towards where the Shrine fight is going on. Being a position 5, you are putting a lot of emphasis on making sure that you can be at every single possible engagement. He gets a nice another Nightmare dodge there onto the EMP, preventing himself from getting mana burned. But wherever you can be and have impact as a 5 is typically what you want to do. So we're scouting for a D ward. We don't actually get the ward, but we will be present for a Kunkka kill. So placing that sentry, it is a very common warding spot to be on the Radiant's high ground, around where that little ledge was where he placed a sentry, but on the top. And once again, establishing deep vision, walk straight into OG's jungle. Now at this point, a lot of our wards have kind of either faded away just due to being timed out, or they've been dewarded. But we're looking to place the wards and move around in places that are as close to OG's base as possible. And the main reason for that is the earlier you can see something coming, the faster you can react to it. And once again, that ward scouts out the neutral camp, it scouts out the path from the tier 2 into the woods, it scouts out the shrine. And now that we have vision at that high ground, we can decide if OG are looking to just directly fight into us. Now, every single ward that xNova has placed, barring, I think, 1, has been to establish aggressive vision. He's never warding his own side of the river. He's never warding his own jungle. He's only looking to ward places on the map where they want to go and where they want to fight. Kind of just hanging around at the moment, soaking some EXP. We notice the Underlord is bottom. We're going to fast forward just a tiny bit here.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Okay, we scout out the Roche pit. Obviously no one's there. OG's team is not particularly good at taking Roche. We're going to get our free D ward. Now we're sitting on the high ground here. This is a really good habit to be in if you are not even just a support, but any hero that has a disable. Sitting on high ground points, okay, I really like that ward. The chances of this ward actually being dewarded, extremely low. And I don't know if I can see the spawn box. Okay, I can. So this is the spawn box of the neutral camp. If there's anything that's within that area, it's going to block the camp. Now this ward doesn't block the camp, but it also grants vision of this entire like blue highlighted area. So it sees well over here, almost to the ramp to where the tier 3 is. And it scouts out kind of the same walking path that you would have from this ward. So normally the D-ward spots are on top where this little eyeball is. You can place another sentry around here, and it will cover both this one and maybe this one if it's not as far left as it is. Like if they place it even a little bit further to the right, that sentry probably catches both of them. And then there's another ward spot up here that you would need an additional sentry for. This ward is pretty much never going to get dewarded. And I know I said I wasn't going to talk about wards that much. That's all I'm going to say on it. It's just a very, very nice ward. I'm going to steal that one, 100%. Write it down. Get your notepads out. That's some high-level wording right there. Alright, so nothing too big is happening on the map right now. We notice that Ame is getting ganked. Again, we go in. We want to try to be where the action is. Now, once we've discerned that our presence is not going to make a difference, we're just going to walk around back towards mid, maybe stand behind a core. In these types of games, it's very easy for a position 5 to just get overwhelmed with what they want to be doing and where they want to be at all times. A good way to play is just say, which hero do I want to enable the most, or what are we trying to accomplish? So LGD are trying to pressure the map. And when you want to pressure the map, you obviously want aggressive wards. Putting a ward in your jungle doesn't let you really do anything. It kind of just lets you know if the enemy's on your side of the map. And if they're there, maybe you can take a fight, maybe you can't. But the main idea is that if you have wards in their jungle, it's much more effective for being able to play aggressively. So we're kind of sitting on the periphery of the fight. We walk back in. We get hit by the Pit of Malice, so we're not really able to do a whole heck of a lot right now. If we end up dying, it's not a huge deal. We get a Brain Sap off. The X into the boat's going to come out. And it looks like OG want to retreat from this one. We do sleep the Underlord, so the Gyrocopter doesn't get out. So by sleeping him, we prevent his movement. His ultimate will grab everyone within that AoE and drag him to whatever place he is selected on the map. But this time around, he's not going to be able to get in range anyway. So we're level 9. It's about 20 minutes in. We see another glimpse, but it looks like our Kunkka's going to be fine. He preemptively X'd himself. It's a nice play. But we're kind of just sitting behind our cores right now. We're not too worried about split pushing. We're not worried about being alone on the map. We know that we have an advantage, so my positioning on the map should be more or less trying to play around my team. That is another very, very good ward. Every single time this guy moves around to place a ward, there is almost a 0% chance that he's going to be spotted. It looks like No Tail, proving why he is on a TI winning team, he actually D-wards that.
Oh, bounty.
We smoke up again, looking for some action. Finally get our Tranquil Boots. This is a 20-minute, we're up by 7k Tranquil Boots. Again, 5's just... If you prioritize items over vision, or your teammates, it's kind of the wrong way to play 5, in my opinion. We're going to drop a ward, walk up to the high ground to make sure that there's no vision from OG. We get a quick pickoff on the Disruptor, and we're trying to cut off the retreat of OG. So we're basically moving in a way that if OG were to walk directly back to their tower, we would just be in front of them before they got there. And it looks like they're going to get away regardless. We end up spotting out the IO. Gonna get some proximity gold and EXP from that one. But you'll notice, xNova doesn't really go off on his own. And I think the main reason for this is his hero in particular is not super mobile. He's tanky, but he can't really escape a gank if he gets relocated on, or he gets glimpsed into a static storm, or the Invoker jumps him. Pretty low chance that he lives. So he's trying to just stay on OG's side of the map as much as possible. And he's trying to enable the rest of the heroes on his team to feel like they can keep playing as aggressively.
Dire's bottom tower has fallen. Radiant's top tower is under attack. Dire's middle tower is under
And for now, we don't have any wards to place. Chalice is backing, so we're going to also take the opportunity to kind of make our way across the map.
Dire's middle tower
OG didn't defend that tier 2, so we just get it for free. He still scouts out Roche. Even though it's not a high probability that they're going to be getting Roche, he still scouts it, just because so many heroes were not showing on the map for a long period of time. I believe Topson was the only person who was actually showing, and he was top. Nice little sentry play. I'll get the ward, trade my life for it. My team's not really anywhere nearby, so I'm just going to go ahead and die. It's nice to be able to get the ward even if you die, because that vision is going to be cooldown based. So you can't just continue to drop observer wards over and over again. So a lot of people would look at that and say, well, you just died. But the fact of the matter is the vision is way more important than the one support death. So again, still a nice move. Your justifications for being a support hero and why you do the things that you do are going to be completely different from that of any core hero. We respawn, still pretty low level. I guess for position 5 we're actually doing alright. We're level 10 at 23 minutes, it's definitely not the worst. And as soon as we respawn, what do? We're walking straight back to our team. We are looking to be together to pressure as much as possible. Looks like we're going for a smoke play. We got some wards to place. Now this is also an important thing to do as well. Whenever you're smoking up with your team, it helps a lot to just have a couple of sentries on you and an observer ward. Just so that you can establish vision in the area that you're looking to fight in. Really nice movement from xNova there. He places a ward in the lane. One that's not so obvious that it's going to be easy to de-ward, but it still gives useful vision. It's still right by OG's base. He even throws out a casual de-ward on the hill just to make sure that they don't have vision of that area. I think that Nightmare actually disjointed the impetus from Chalice there, but it doesn't really matter. Still get a kill regardless. We're contemplating TPing top, but we notice that our core player is going to be just fine. So what do? Instead? We drop another sentry that covers all the high ground areas on the Radiant side of the map that would potentially scout into the Roche pit. And also, just in case someone has like a Glimmer, or maybe they have like a Shadow Blade. Obviously in this game, probably not Shadow Blade, but there is an Evoker with Ghost Walk. So we got sentries on either side of the river now. We got our high ground ward. He even places another sentry above the Roshan pit. Alright, Tornado onto 3. We're trying to stand a little bit further back here because we don't want to get caught in a static storm. Bane is a very positioning-based hero, so we don't want to be the ones getting caught by every single disable and every single silence. Our core player's in trouble. We're going to try to help him out. Very nice Fiend's Grip. Notice he does not cancel it, even though he knows he could potentially get hit by the call down, and he ends up getting glimpsed away anyway. So he doesn't really take any damage from it. Now that was a little bit unfortunate because it did cost our Enchantress her life. But we were committed to that. Even if we were going to die, we were going to hard channel that Fiend's Grip until we died to not only ensure that we kill a core hero, but potentially save our Enchantress as well. The mentality of xNova in this game is, my life for my team. And so far he's doing a spectacular job. We win the fight 3 for 1. Get 2 supports and a core for just our offlane hero. And it also opens up the opportunity for us to walk into the Roche pit. Now you'll notice that he's standing on the high ground towards OG's side of the map. This is basically so that OG have a harder time getting into the Roshan pit before it dies. If the Gyrocopter or the Invoker can freely walk in under either Ghost Walk, for example, which wouldn't work because they have sentries, or the Gyro just goes in because he has BKB, you'll be able to see him coming from further away. A lot of the things that xNova does in these games are just very, very basic support stuff. If you can spot someone 10 seconds sooner, that's where you want the vision. That's kind of the whole premise of his warding game and how he's moved around the map. Being able to give your team an early warning is way better than getting jumped and having to play reactionary. Making our way towards the bottom fight. You see Static Storm, and pretty much everything has already been popped there. We're going to get an Enfeeble off. Not really able to do much here because we don't have Fiend's Grip, but we are going to try to focus the IO. In a lot of the fights, killing the IO first in the mid-late game is pretty much the most important thing just because of how much it amplifies your cores. And he's also way easier to kill. So his targeting was great. He went for a little Nightmare play there onto Chalice too, I believe, but it didn't end up working out. But he got the Enfeeble off, and you know, we pretty much cast every single spell we could and tried to play it optimally. Now what happens as soon as they win the fight? He walks at OG's base, he establishes a high ground point, and he places a sentry. Every single time this guy has an opportunity to make an aggressive move, he goes for it. He walks behind trees, he places an obs ward. Now there is a sentry there already, so that will probably end up going down. But still, the mentality and how he's playing it out is you could adopt this in any game and it would still work. Doesn't even matter if you're a Bane. You could be a Disruptor, for example. You know, you could be a Witch Doctor, you could be a Lion, you could be any number of heroes. The basic ideas of how he's playing the game are the things that you want to take away from this. I walk forward, I try to establish high ground vision. I'm always dropping sentries in places where I myself would want to ward if I were the enemy team, because they just give good vision here. Gonna get a Nightmare off. Onto Jerax, not much he can do here. Rest of my team's here to follow it up. So he just falls over. Alright, I don't really know if a ball can necessarily fall over. Maybe he just died. Got more wards. Got a 9k lead now. Our net worth has basically stayed within 500 of what it is right now for the last 15 minutes. And I would still say that this guy is playing one of the best supports that you could ever hope to have. Again, walks forward, won a team fight, places 2 sentries and an observer ward just to try to make sure that OG don't have any vision in the area. And he's also placing a ward near an objective. Now Chalice is going to feel free to push that lane because of the wards that we just placed. If someone TPs, good chance he's going to see it. And yet we saw the IO for a split second there. So if Chalice dies to that gank, that would kind of be on him, because he would have seen the gank coming from a good while away. And we end up going down to the gyro there. He has a BKB, so there's not really a whole lot we can do about it. Best case scenario, we just TP. Looks like Chalice will in fact be fine, even though he got ganked by a few heroes. And for now, we still got our 2 deep wards, and we got the ward that's near the Roshan pit. So we're still on average keeping a lot of that stuff, keeping a lot of the vision down on the map. And that's one of the best things you can do. Even if you go like 0-15 and your wards stay up the whole game, you're living large. Your cores are going to feel safer, you're going to be able to take well-executed team fights just because you know exactly what you're fighting into. Information is everything for a support hero. So we respawn, we instantly pop our TP. We know that a fight is probably not going to break out in a way that we can get to it. So there's no tier 1s on either of our side lanes. We TP mid because we want to D-push. There's 2 carts here. Ideally, one of our cores would be here instead. But since we're the only one here, we're just going to hit some creeps for a bit. One of OG's heroes are respawning. We decide there potentially could be a fight bottom, and we want to be there. Establishing the high ground, placing a ward. Gonna go for the double D ward. Catches out OG's Observer and Sentry with that one. I want to really kind of hit on the redundancy of how he does these things, because a good support player is going to do the same things. They're always going to buy multiple sentries, and they're going to buy 1 obs. Because taking away the enemy vision is sometimes more important than just establishing your own. So that's why he always buys more than 1 sentry. That, and of course, you can't always buy observers. They go on cooldown. Sentries are infinite. You can buy as many as you have gold. And the more you have, the more chances you have at successfully dewarding. Now, xNova is obviously very experienced, so he understands all the warding locations very well. But it's still a really good habit to always be carrying multiple sentries as a support just for that reason. Okay, I don't know exactly where this ward is, but it could be here, or it could be here. You want 2 chances, 3 chances of being right, not just 1. As long as you can afford it, it's definitely a worthwhile investment. We've actually gotten quite a bit of experience in the last couple of minutes as well. So level 15 at 30 minutes, not too shabby, if I do say so myself. We finally get one of our late game items. This is a cloak. Very, very expensive item for a position 5. Unless you are just completely rolling the enemy team. We're making our way towards that Glimmer Cape, but who knows when we'll realistically get enough money to finish it. We got a little bit of a lull here in downtime, so we're going to fast forward just a tiny bit. We get another catch on the IO. We've still got some sentries in our inventory, but we notice top lane is pushing out. And then as soon as we realize that, hey, FY is on the case, we're not really looking to go over there yet. Very nice catch with the Fiend's Grip. Should be a very dead gyrocopter.
Can anyone hear me? It's a killing spree over
And that positioning is big, right? Being in that particular spot, being able to break fog and almost immediately be in range of using your abilities, just very thorough understanding of his hero and how close he can be to have an influence. Stuff like that is kind of hard to teach. It's just something that you get a feeling for, understanding your hero's range very well. Walking forward aggressively. We Nightmare the Underlord so he doesn't spam the Rain of Fire, and while he's Nightmared, we get a kill on the Invoker who does not have buyback. Now, we don't know that for sure, but we're kind of hoping at this point. Our core player is diving in, so we kind of want to be a part of this fight. We're tanking some tower shots. Probably not the most perfectly executed play he's had this game. But the idea is what's important. He wants to try to help at any juncture, even though that particular fight didn't work out for him. He eats some damage. He enables his cores to be able to go in. If the gyrocopter BKBs and hits a position 5 hero during the duration of that match community, then it's still not that bad. Think about when you're playing a core and your BKB's at 5 seconds and you have to spend 3 of those seconds hitting a 5, and then as soon as your BKB wears off, the enemy core has a diffusal blade and then you just lose all your mana. It's not a great feeling. So even plays like that, where he kind of just walks in and it just looks like he dies, eating damage is still a way of supporting. And while it's not always like the best thing to do, in that situation, it was all he could do. Our core player is going to get glimpsed here. He's got a Satanic, so he's going to be able to live through quite a bit, actually. And during this time, we've respawned and we're just already making our way back. We even pick up the Invis Rune on the way there. Right now, I do not believe... Do they have a sentry down? It's kind of hard to see. Okay, it looks like OG did not have a sentry. We have our ultimate. We're just staying pretty far away. Knowing that we got the objective we came for, we can just safely back. No need to risk anything. And for now, we're feeling pretty confident. We've got the one set of racks bottom, we got the melee racks. We could potentially finish an item at 36 minutes. With a 26,000 gold lead, we're still only 3,700 net worth. And that is how a true 5 is played, ladies and gentlemen. None of this, let me just get my 4-staff and then I'll buy wards. None of this, let me finish boots and I'll buy wards. This is a TI finalist. This man cares so little about his actual items that he has just tranquil boots in a game where his team is almost doubling the net worth of the enemy. So the next time you're in a game and you say, let me just finish this item, I want you to remember xNova. I want you to remember his sacrifice. Now we do end up going down there, but we get a very important kill in the process.
It's okay. No, it's not okay. I'm getting mad. I'm getting angry about this.
Dire's middle barracks are under attack. Dire's middle barracks has fallen.
Now at this point the game is pretty much over. We're gonna get the mega creeps. We had a pretty big advantage, I would say, post like 20 minutes. The laning phase was a little bit back and forth. We didn't really crush top, but what tri-laning did was allow for the other two solo lanes to accelerate. So the Enchantress versus the Underlord, that lane won, and then the Invoker versus Kunkka, our Kunkka demolished. So we were feeling really good about the fact that maybe one lane was losing, but the other two were going extremely well. And we warded based off of just pure aggression. We won 2 out of 3 of our lanes. We want to play aggressive. Where are all my wards going? On OG's side of the map. Every time. Always high ground wards. Always carrying sentries. Always making sure that we are positioning ourselves as close to danger as we can while not actually dying. Now again, a lot of this stuff takes work, and you're going to play your first game as Bane and you might go 0-15. But you know what? If those wards are bought out and you're placing sentries, that's all that matters. Just buy the wards. Always look to try to think of, what does my team look to accomplish? Do we play late game? Do we play early game? Do we want to try to end by a certain amount of time? Ward based on that kind of stuff. So this video kind of turned into a kind of warding, kind of movement based, so I'll probably end up changing the title of it. I will be taking a handful of questions before we go ahead and finish up the video, so if anyone in chat has something they want to ask, feel free. This is a live recording, so it's probably, again, a couple mistakes, but we're kind of getting the hang of it now. Let's actually check out the endgame screen so we can give you guys an idea of how many wards this man bought. Yeah, 18 wards, 24 sentries. Now FY chipped in a little bit as well. He did buy 2 wards and 4 sentries. And No Tail's pretty much in the same boat. 18 wards, bunch of sentries. Can I explain the thought process behind when to buy a gem for your team versus more sentries and dust? Okay, so in this game, I don't think a gem would have been a horrible idea, but I also don't think that xNova would have been the one to carry it. When you buy a gem, you're basically investing in the permanent D-ward potential, but you want it to be on a hero that's not just going to fall over if he gets ganked, right? So he probably thinks, okay, I could buy a gem, I don't want to carry it, and I'm the one doing the majority of the vision establishment for my team. So it doesn't really make sense for me to invest in something that I am likely to lose. And if no one else on his team wanted to carry the gem, then that pretty much just answers the question straight up. Now, if you're playing a 5 and you're super farmed for whatever reason and you have multiple items and you can escape, then you can buy a gem. And it's not a big deal. But just always remember, it's a risk versus reward. Did they need a gem to win this game? Probably not. I mean, they won it without the gem anyway, obviously, but the way that he plays, he is very sacrificial. Like, he always goes in. If he dies, he doesn't care. It's whatever. So his playstyle is also kind of counterintuitive to carrying a gem. If they were going to buy one, it would either be like, maybe the Kunkka carries it, maybe the Shaker carries it, maybe the Enchantress carries it. He might personally buy it for his team, but he's not going to hold on to it. When do you know the difference between offensive and defensive warding? A lot of that comes in with hero knowledge. A really good way to go about it is, are we scared of a late game hero? Is there something on the enemy team that we just say straight up, I don't want to go X amount of minutes versus, let's say, a Medusa, you know, one of the classical super hard carries. I don't want to delay the game against this hero because this hero is eventually going to become very annoying. In that game, you could very easily justify placing aggressive wards because you want to be able to find that hero and kill her before she reaches critical mass. Now, some of that also goes hand in hand with what tools do we have available? Do we also have multiple cores for the late game? Do we have ways of using this vision? Do we have blink initiators? If you have a lot of blink initiation, then absolutely aggressive warding would be great, because then you can use that vision. Your initiating heroes can find the Medusa, blink in, easy kill. It does get a little bit more complicated depending on team compositions, but those are just guidelines that I like to use. And I think that if you use them, you'll also have a pretty good amount of success. So, that wraps up this video. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll be doing some more in the future. So, as this is a new YouTube channel, I don't actually have my own channel tag yet, but if you guys can go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel, hopefully I can get a legitimate name for the channel soon. So, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.